So here we go. Page 14, okay? So we talked about insurance. We talked about a lot of concepts that we covered, making sure you have the right amount of coverage, that you have the right insurance. I don't know if you remember, I just kept this piece of paper here. When you're worried about water damage, you need to have three things in your insurance policy. I would say you should have all three. And right now I'm stuck with this one. I don't have this one, right? So I'm doing a lot of overkill. That's how I am with my home. Like I take care of it to the nth degree. So you know how normally a house, you know the eavesdrops, right, that catch the water, and then there's a pipe that connects to the side of the house, goes down, and then it just has like a little chute like that you need to fold down sometimes. What I do is I buy 4-inch pipes that are like 8 feet long from Home Depot, whatever, and I insert that, and it actually goes 8 feet away from the home. So it's like way overkill, because right now, if you let the water run off right close to your home, it's going to go straight down and it's going to accumulate under your basement. There's something called a water table. Do you know what a water table is? You may have learned about it in science. Maybe, maybe not. But there's a water table. There's like a water level. There's this water saturated under your basement. When they constructed your home, they knew exactly where that was. They drill and they find out, okay, that's the water table, so we need to make sure we stay above it. If this fills up, like this actually rises as there's more and more rain. So under your basement, there's lots of gravel, like truckloads of gravel. And that fills up with water. And your sump pump right here, there's like a catch basin. Some houses don't have a sump pump, so you have a different system. But the water needs to be pumped out, right? There's a hose on the side of your house that should also be far away from your home right now. You don't want it right next to your foundation. And all the water, make it run away from your home onto the sidewalk, street. They're not technically allowed to put it. You can't go right onto the street legally. Like the city can give you issues for that. But you can have it close enough for it to run onto the street, but you can't put it right next to the street, okay? But just make sure you keep that in mind. All of these things play into account, because what the city wants is they want you to pump that water. It goes down, right? It pools up again in the water table, and then if it rises, your pump will just keep pumping it out, and there's a cycle there. But it slows it down. It's better than the water just going straight down to your foundation. It's better for it to run away, slowly find its way down, and then back to your home. If you don't have a sump pump, don't worry. When they built your house, what they did is, allow me to do a bird's eye view of your basement. Bird's eye, you're looking from the top. They actually have like pipes all around your house. It's called weeping tile. Anybody heard of that word? Weeping tiles? Yes. And it collects water. It collects water and it's connected straight to the city sewer. So the water collects around your home and it runs away into the city sewer, and off it goes, right? So they did think it through. Don't think that if you don't have a sump pump, you're in trouble. There is a likelihood that if this backs up here, that the water can't run anywhere and then it comes into your home. So that is always a possibility, right? So you got to watch out for that. You know these areas that have ponds? Like when you go for walks, there's like a pond in certain areas, certain neighborhoods. Those are actually, that's a drainage system. You know, when it runs into the drain when it rains, it goes to these ponds, and those ponds are all connected. Like there's probably like a couple in a big area. So it runs into the pond and then to another pond, and then it's kind of made to collect rainwater. because they don't want that in the sewer. They learned their lesson that they have to separate water from rain and snow from actual sewage coming from your homes, right? Because it's not good to mix those up. Anyways, sorry to bore you. Some of you are just like, just teach us how to do this, or teach us something else, right? But it's important. I think it's your investment, right? The more you know, the better equipped you are. All right, let's go to example 3 here. Okay, remember, there are two different types of insurances: tenant when you rent, home insurance when you own. Okay, so you got to watch out for that. Grab your tables real quick. I need to make sure you understand that. There's a max for both tables. What's the max for a house? On this chart, the maximum that this chart allows you to see is 200,000, right? So you go all the way to the 200,000, maybe just write down max or highlight it. And when you go to your tenant's policy, what is the max there? $75,000. So if you want more, you can buy it, but it's going to cost you some. Okay? Most houses in Winnipeg need more than 200,000. Never lie about your basement being finished. Some people finish their basement and don't want to tell the city because your house is worth more now. But what if your insurance company says you never said your basement was finished? Now your house burned down. You're like, I want my basement redone. Like you said, it wasn't finished, right? So you never told us. Because if the value of your home goes up, so does your insurance. Not by a whole lot, but it does go up. If you put in a fireplace, insurance is going to go up. That's going to go up significantly. If you add a fireplace, it's going to be $300-400 more a year because the hazard is just, there's more risk of a fire in your home, right? So let them know. Here we go. Example 3. Jill owns. That tells us what table we're going to use. Done. Okay? A house in Pine Falls and is within 8 miles of a fire hydrant. You don't really need to worry about that. I will always tell you which area that is, and it's area 3. So highlight area 3. Because we need to know where the house is located. You want $225,000 of insurance. You want a standard insurance policy. All of these things help you narrow it down. You want a $500 deductible. So what's the payment before tax? What's the yearly amount that this house would have to pay in insurance, given all of these things here? And I want you to notice that, what's the max for a house again? Because you own, right? Max, right? Max, I will say this, over the max, right? It's above the max. So we need to use this formula here. We need to use this one because I told you this formula here, which has this part added, is coverage that is above the max, right? So we have to use this one, right? So how do I start my work? I actually go overage. I figure out how much am I over by. So you take the price of the house and you subtract the 200,000 from it. This is the max, right? So you're going to see how much over am I. This one, I did that on purpose so it's easy to do in your head, right? You're $25,000 over the 200,000. So go squiggly line or something, like underline that so you know you're going to use that, you're going to need that for what we're doing next. I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to use that formula that has the square brackets in it. So insurance is going to be, do the square brackets. And let's go back to our formula. It's asking for a table rate. So we need to go get a number from our table. So grab the homeowner's insurance because it says owns. And we are in area 3 and we want standard, right? So keep that in mind. So we go to our chart, right? Area 3 is here, up here where my pencil is. I want standard, and I got to go all the way down to the max, right? Like you got to max out there. You have to take that 726 and watch this. 355 is how much we pay extra for every 1,000. So these two numbers, if you max out, you need to transfer both numbers. So watch how I do this. I go 726 plus 355 over 1,000. That's this part right here. The 355 is also from my table. And then you need to multiply that by this amount that you're over by. Square brackets close. And just for this example, I will do this. So I will pretend like I'm inserting this and my whole formula kind of stays the same. And then you got to ask yourself, is this necessary? Are these two steps necessary? And it all goes back to, what does the 1.10 do? It turns the premium so that it is reflecting a $200 deductible. But we don't have that, right? Like we don't have a $200 deductible, we have a $500. So you can cancel that. We're not worrying about that. And the 1.07 is the PST, is the taxes, but this question says find it before taxes. So we cancel that as well. Right? So if you didn't do those parts, what you're gonna find here is how much you would pay for a $500 deductible. So let's go ahead and figure that out. 726 plus, let's figure this out. It's 3,55 divided by 1,000 times 25,000. And that's 88.75. I will put the square brackets around it so you can see that it continues from there. And then all you have to do now is answer. I'm going to add those two up. So it's 814.75. This is a $500 deductible, and this is before tax, right? That's what you just figured out. What would you have to do to this number? Let's say you go to your insurance company and you're like, I want that $200 deductible. All you would have to do is multiply this by 1.10 because the chart tells you just add 10% to the premium you calculated. Let's do I want you to pick your brain a little bit because it's Friday. We need to, if I just talk, I feel like you're gonna tune me out. Can you try 1 and 2? Just use pencil. If it's wrong, not a big deal. There's like zero risk right now. If you had to come up with these, if you had to answer both of them, what would you get? Keep in mind that one is below the max and one is over the max. Okay, they're both renting. I'm giving too much away, I know, but all right, guys. I'm curious to see. You're working through it, so that's awesome. You're a good crowd. Okay. What's the annual cost to insure an apartment? Apartment, tenant insurance. 65 grand. Comprehensive. $200 deductible before and after tax. You know what? I've told you this before. Let's just do after tax. I know if you did before, that's fine. Right? But I personally, on a test or AC, I'm just going to ask you for one, not both, right? So it just makes it easier. So apartment, it's a lot easier dealing with apartment, right? So 65,000 comprehensive. So 65 is right there. Comprehensive is $400. So I'm gonna use the $400, and I have a $200 deductible, so I need to go times 110. And I want it after tax, so I have to go times 1.07. That's all that it takes for this one. You're under the max. Those are easier, way easier. Okay, so you should be getting, that's 440, right? If you multiply these two, that would be before tax. And then 1.07, that's 470.80. That would be your after tax. 470.80. This is $200 deductible and after tax. Okay, that's what you just found there. Okay. The next one, which is tougher, you are over, okay, over 70K, 75K max, right? You should make note of that. You should have looked at your tables like, oh, I'm over, okay? So right away, you figure out the overage, which is the amount you're over by. So it's just 90,000 minus 75,000. And that is 15 grand. Okay, I'm going to underline that. I will give you a mark usually for that, just for figuring out that 15,000, because you're showing me that you understand the concept, right? So here I have to use what I call the square bracket scenario. And I skipped this part, guys, sorry. It's an apartment, so tenant, 90,000, important, it's standard. $200 deductible. How about we go after tax there as well? If you found before and after, great. I just don't want too much going on there. So let's go to our chart. We want standard, and you max out, right? You max out at 359. So you need to grab that and look at the one below. It's 450. So these two numbers go with you. 359 plus 450, but remember that has to be over 1,000. That has to be over 1,000. Otherwise, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for your insurance. And then you put the 15,000 in there. Close that. Now the two numbers that multiply are in question. Do you want a $200 deductible? Yes, I do. Do I want after tax? Yes, I do. Oops. I do want that. Okay. So now you have it all set up. Now you just need to crunch numbers, right? Please do one step at a time. So I'm going to go 359 plus, I'm going to figure out what this gives me. So 450 divided by 1,000, right, times 15,000, that's 6750. Okay, close that square bracket. You've cleaned it up, times 1.10 times 1.07. 359 plus that gives you 426.50. You can now get rid of the square brackets and just worry about the rest there. And you can do this part in one shot. So right, I still have the 426.50 in there. I go times 1.10 times 1.07, and that is 501.50. $1.99. That was a lot of work, right? Yes, that's a lot of work. But if you follow the formula, if you have a different highlighter, I'm gonna take that 15 grand and just highlight it so that you see, right? It found its way in there. And if you allow me to just go back a little bit, there's that 25 grand, right? It made it in to that formula. So you're gonna need to have a study sheet, right? And have this maybe an example in there, and you're gonna have to practice. That's basically what it comes down to, right? Practice. Let's go to the back side here. We're gonna end up with this, okay? So go to the back. On page 15, I want you to try 3, 4, and 5. Let's just do 3, 4, and 5 today, okay? I will give you the key to that in a bit. So there's rent, and then there's 2 homes, right? So rent, home, home. So you're gonna have to jump between the charts a little bit. Make sure you give it a try before you go for the weekend. There are the answers if you want to check.